I started playing table tennis in a very small club that was close to my house where I grew up. And I was about 8 years old, and my sister went to the club as part of a family night with some friends that she was staying with them for the weekend. And my parents were close family friends with them as well. So the next weekend, both families went together, and we kept going every Friday. And that's kind of how it started, and I branched out into playing the junior club there, and really got into playing table tennis. I had a coach for a couple of years when I was 11 or 12 years old, but after she left, I kind of had to spend quite a long time learning to play by myself. There wasn't really that much development in table tennis where I was. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed playing it when I was a kid, and that's part of the reason why I kept playing even when I had no one to train with and no one to teach me how to play, and I just kind of hung in there and clung onto it till I went to university, and then I started playing more. Table tennis in New Zealand is kind of in a difficult patch at the moment, and it's been declining for a while. I mean, it's a sporting nation and there's a lot of competing sports, and so it's been pretty difficult to promote it. I mean, since coming to the US, I've realized that there's a lot of effort going into table tennis on a social level as well as on a competitive level, and there's just kind of more people really getting behind the sport and pushing it to like social, even events and social like occasions and stuff like that. In New Zealand, it doesn't really have the scale. There's kind of a die-hard group of players that are, you know, really competitive, or some social clubs, but on the whole, it's not really being pushed as much as a competitive sport as in the US. I would say my most memorable moment was probably playing my first World Champs, which was in 2016 in Malaysia. I was really invested in making the team for that event. It was always a really big goal of mine, and I kind of took it was like a really long process. Like I trained for it for a long time, and it was a good opportunity because we had a team trial. And so I felt if I was playing well enough, I could make a spot on the team. But I mean, I had a lot of health complications before that. And so I kind of set a goal to be like, okay, the next 2 years, I'm really gonna push to try and make a world championship. And I made 2, so that worked out well. Being an autoimmune athlete has definitely had more than its share of challenges. I think probably the most difficult part about it has been just planning, and I've always gone through phases of training really hard and then relapsing and being in hospital, or, you know, being on medication, and then you kind of have to, I think it's attitude more than anything else. It's just being able to go back to ground zero and be like, okay, I'm starting back at the starting blocks again, and you have to do some physical rehabilitation and try and build back into it again. And out of everything, the hardest part of it for me has always been being back where I started. So, you know, you're kind of always going around in circles where you're putting in so much effort all the time, and you want to always be advancing and kind of improving, and you just find your efforts going here, and then you come back to here, and then you're going up, and then you're going back again. So yeah, I'd say just trying to always look forward and be like, you know, if you work hard, you can push through it eventually. Yeah, I think anybody who has, I mean, not just autoimmune conditions, but any health conditions, there's so many positives that you can get out of playing sports, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. It's just being out of your house every day, being under sunlight, being kind of out, or, you know, keeping on your feet. It's not just a physical thing, it's mental as well. Like for me, having goals and playing table tennis was kind of what dragged me out, and was like, you know, I have to kind of work for something. So you kind of, it gives you something to pick you up and be like, okay, you know, maybe some days things don't look so great, but it's like, you know, you've got to get up, you've got to work towards something. So I think any sport or any activity it's a positive for people with any health condition. So I started my table tennis blog. Originally, in the very beginning, it was just about, I just wanted to kind of keep it as like a diary of like, I'm working towards national championships and stuff. It was actually after I did my first interview with William Hensel. I did one interview kind of in partnership with Table Tennis Daily, and a lot of people were quite interested in it, seeing like this ability to kind of read interviews and thoughts from professional table tennis players that they would never really get the opportunity to ever see. Or, you know, I mean, the internet's a small place, so it gives you an opportunity to connect people. And so for me, blogging gave me an opportunity to not only build a network of players from all around the world, and I mean, I've interviewed now, I don't know how many world number ones or Olympic gold medalists and stuff. It just gave me a chance to connect people with people that they could learn from, or people that could inspire them. And then after I did that for a few years, I developed it more into a coaching blog because I was coaching more table tennis. So I've always kind of tried to have my blog as a means to help people who don't really have access to a coach, or maybe they don't have access to ways to learn about table tennis, and just to kind of connect people more with professional players. I would say my most memorable interview, or the most memorable player that I interviewed, was Adrian Chrisan. And I interviewed Adrian as kind of a standalone interview, and I was able to do follow-up interviews with him after the World Championships one year, and I think after he made the quarterfinal of the London Olympics. And my blog really allowed me an opportunity to get to know him a little bit better and build a good relationship with him. And so out of all the people I interviewed in my blog, I would say I became most friendly with Adrian. And last year he even came out to New York and stayed at the club for 4 days, and we went out to Jersey Shore and played some table tennis, and it was good. It was really good. It's a really unique thing to go from an interview to actually building these kind of relations with table tennis players, not just like your everyday table tennis player, but professional, like top level international players. My favorite thing about being part of the table tennis community is probably the people. I mean, throughout my entire lifetime, I mean, when I went through school and when I went through university, I kept a very small number of close friends. Obviously now I've moved country, so it's a little bit difficult to keep in touch with some of them, but I've always found that I've kept a huge proportion of friends from table tennis, and whether they've stopped playing or we've moved to different places in the world, or, you know, even if they're not playing as much, I've always kept in touch with them, and I think that's quite cool. I think that's quite unique. So definitely the people. If I had to pick a superpower to help me play table tennis, I would take all of the power from Barry Allen, so the Flash. Because if you can slow everything down, I think you could probably return any table tennis ball. So yeah, if I could be a superhero table tennis player, I'd be the Flash. I partnered with JOOLA because I tried some JOOLA equipment about a year ago while I was doing some equipment reviews, and I tried one particular setup which I found was really good for me, and it felt really good, and so I actually started using it a little bit more. Then after about 2 months, I decided to make it my actual setup, so I started using it for matches and competition and for all my full-time training. And yeah, I thought that this equipment choice was obviously the right choice for my game at the present time, and so I decided that JOOLA would be a great company to partner with. And particularly in the USA, I've noticed that they're really focused on branding, and they do some really exciting events, and they look after their players really well, so that was important for me.